Welcome to this episode of the Shared Security Podcast. And joining me for her 5th appearance on the podcast exactly 1 year ago today. How ironic is this?
Yeah.
The one and only Tanya Janca. Welcome back.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me, you two.
We always keep bringing you
Always
back.
a pleasure. Yeah.
That's right. Because you're a frequent guest. I mean, why can't we not have Tanya on the show, right? You're actually one of the long-term guests. Like I said, this is your 5th appearance. And I don't know how we did this, but exactly 1 year ago today, like to the day.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
I think the first time we had Tanya on, we were recording via Skype.
Yes, we were.
There was no video.
Maybe we should go back to Skype, apparently, with the problems we're having with this platform. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Skype.
Yes.
Not to make us
Those
all
were
feel
the
old,
days.
but yeah.
Well, that's what Teams is now, isn't it? Teams is the old Skype.
I guess.
Evolved or
Could be.
something. I don't know. Well, Tanya knows you worked at Microsoft.
Yeah.
You remember those
So
days?
They wrote something new. Skype had to go to bed.
Yes. Yes.
I had to go home. It was drunk.
Yes. So how are you doing? It's been a little bit.
Things are, I know it has been quite a while. Things are really exciting. So I have been working on a book since 2022, and I had many ups and downs since then. And basically, I decided earlier this year, I'm going to finish the book. My publisher's like, are we doing this or are we not doing this? Because I was very kind of all over the place. And then AI happened. And so I needed to add a lot of that to the book. And I was like, we're doing this. And I just have been on it constantly, especially since basically June.
Yeah.
All the time, every single spare moment. And I have completely finished writing it. I've done all the language edits. And now I'm just doing like the layout right before Christmas. And then it comes in February 5th.
Ooh, excellent. Well, that's not a long time from now. I'm sure you're feeling the pressure.
No, which is why they're like, give me those layouts.
And we'll be watching for a correlation between, a number of application security incidents and the publication of your book.
Basically.
They'll go straight down.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the book, because we've had you on the show before talking about your previous book was Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. And this new book is, would you call it a follow-on to that book? But this time on secure coding. So would you say it goes kind of in a deeper level this time?
Yes, it's much, much deeper. So in the first book, there was one chapter on secure coding. And it covered as much as a person can in only 29 pages, right? And this book is just that. That's all it is so there's 3 parts to the book. And the first part is agnostic advice that applies to every single language. And so all the concepts and things I need you to do, there's a bunch of code in there. And there's a lot of, this is how you do this. Then in the second part of the book, I dive deep into 10 programming languages and 8 frameworks, 5 technologies, and then every single vulnerability that I'm aware of. So vulnerability categories. So, for instance, crossing trust boundaries. So what is that? What's the worst that can happen? How can I make sure this does not happen to me? Memory issues, file handling issues, etc. So I decided not to cover CVEs or CWEs, which is how we often talk about vulnerabilities. And instead, I wanted to use language that was more inclusive of developers. And then the third part of the book, I talk about a secure system development lifecycle, which I do talk about a lot in the first book, except I talk about it from the standpoint of you are a developer and this is happening to you. You are participating in this. So what is it like to go to a threat model? And what do you need to bring? And what things are going to happen during it? What do you have to do after? Is this going to hurt? Spoiler alert, it's not going to hurt.
I don't believe
it. Because I feel like we often talk about as a security person what to do, but this book is for developers. And I wanted them to know, okay, so if a pen test is happening, what do I do? Or I get a report from the security team. How do I action this? How do I decide what to fix? And we don't talk about that very much. So I thought I would.
It's funny you should mention those vulnerability classifications. I was watching one of your TikToks where you were talking about testing and stuff, and the transcription below, or the captions below, was talking about cross-eyed scripting.
Yeah.
But it was all good.
My pronunciation.
It just made it more fun.
It's my accent.
Just made it more fun. That was good.
I love it. I love it. So I really like that this book in particular is geared towards developers, because I think in the industry, we've been talking a long time about like secure coding, best practices. There's tons of trainings and all of that on there, but I don't know if I've seen a book particularly focused like your book is on, targeting developers specifically around like secure code review and how to write secure code. I think is really important, because I hear all the time we encourage developers to do like peer review of code and things like that. And I think your book is giving developers a better understanding of that, and also arming the security team too with knowledge and information that they need. Was that kind of how your thinking was when you were developing the content for the book?
Yes, I also developed it so that you can copy and paste it into a secure coding guideline or a technology standard. So for instance, I cover serverless, WebSockets, all sorts of things. And I always wanted a one-pager on how to do that securely. And so when I did consulting, I was constantly writing those up for different organizations. Constantly, still, I get consulted with it's like, we wrote this secure coding guideline. Can you look it over? I'm like, it's missing these 25 things. I want to see this, blah, blah, blah. And so I made it. And I even say in the book, like, your homework is to take this and make it a secure coding guideline. And I literally like have a summary where you can literally just take those 3 pages and make it your guideline to start if you want a light guideline. And then I have it if you want a heavy one. I have one for several different languages and frameworks. And I'm like, literally take this and copy and paste it. It's okay, I promise. Because now don't copy it to the internet, because I still want other people to buy the book.
Yeah, don't do that.
But I made it so that your organization can be more secure, right? And so I feel like I also, the third part, I summarize every single activity you can do as part of a secure SDLC and just like a brief what it is, so that you can just pick the parts you like and add it to your SDLC, right? Like I wanted to make it as easy and actionable as possible. And I've been giving secure coding training on the side of whatever full-time job I've had for quite a while. And it just keeps evolving and evolving. And I'm like, yeah, I need a new book. And so now,
now you have a place to put all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like if a client hires you to make a whole bunch of, C and C++ training, I don't want to just give it to one person.
Yeah.
Right. I want everyone to know.
Absolutely.
So now I just have a plethora of content, which is fantastic. And I'm hoping that people that read the book will change the way they think about security. So it's not intimidating anymore. They feel empowered and they feel like it's important to them. This is my true hope. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I have recommended your first book to a lot of people that have asked about, how do I upskill in application security, or people that were interested in just understanding more about application security. And I loved how your first book really just level set, and it just felt very natural, right, when you read it, because it was kind of done on more layman's terms, right? Where anybody in tech or even outside of tech could pick it up and actually understand the concepts and get that base level of knowledge. So I'm really excited to see your next book on how that's going to be a little more technical, a little more geared towards developers. And I think everyone's going to get a lot out of it.
There are still a lot of the same things from the first book. Like there's still the 2 characters, Alice and Bob, and they still have stuff happen to them. And it's a lot of stories that mostly happen to me. And there's still going to be analogies and stories and pictures and all the different things to try to illustrate really complex abstract concepts. Because if you just say it's this, that doesn't reach everyone, right? So explaining things in multiple ways and coming at things from different angles. I'm also going to record an audiobook like I did for the first one. And I'm also going to have live streams of every single chapter where me and friends get together, and it's all free. We get together every month for every single chapter of the book, starting about halfway through 2025. So once I'm sure everyone has copies of the book, then we'll go through. Because last time we ran out of the first printing immediately.
Good problem to have.
And then lots of people couldn't get their copy. So
Yeah.
this time I'm trying to get as many pre-orders as possible so everyone actually gets it. But it was 2020 the first time, and everything went wrong in 2020.
Yes.
Right? This time it will go way better.
No pandemic.
I've been assured.
Hopefully not this time. So cross our fingers on that. But that's cool. Let's talk real quick about the book writing process. Because, and maybe this is something for people that have thought about writing a book. I mean, I actually started writing a book, then I stopped, and I might pick it back up again. And it's a really challenging and difficult process. But I'm curious to hear just your experience. This is now your second book. What are your thoughts on the whole process?
So I believe in setting goals.
Mhm.
I'm really big on setting goals for like health, for family, for relationships, for happiness, for career, for like career at work and career outside of work. And even like next steps career. Like I always have like this long-term plan of like, I have these 5 options and I need to make sure I keep them open. And that's how I do a lot of things. And you do not write a book casually. And so in this book, I talk about setting goals for your education and your career. And I talk about kind of some of the steps you can do to hold yourself accountable. And so one of the things that I do is I announce publicly what I'm doing, because then people check in with me about it. And if I haven't done it, I feel kind of embarrassed. And then I start working on the thing again.
Yeah.
And so people kept saying like, when am I going to get your book? And I'm like, you're right. I need to submit that last chapter. I just have to finish those technical edits, even though technical edits are really hard because it's your baby and they're telling you your baby might not be perfectly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But my technical editors were really gentle and great. And I have one of them as a dev and then 2 AppSec people so that I can make sure I get the right audience, if that makes sense. Because if everyone's a security person or everyone's a dev, it might not have gone the same way. But I feel like you have to set out a time to write. And so I set out a time to write every Saturday and Sunday morning. And then my kids figure out when the end of that is because they just crawl on me. They're like, I need to stop.
Yeah.
Like literally when I first started writing the book, they'd literally go and try to sit on my laptop and be like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me.
That's worse than a cat.
I'm like, you win. You win.
Yeah. Kid always wins.
But you have to set a time that is carved out for that. And if other things go into that time, when are you going to replace that time? And sometimes it's like, well, I have this opportunity to go on a trek to see a friend, so I'm going to miss it this weekend. Okay, well, when I usually wouldn't be able to make up the time because of all the other things I have, which is why the book took so long. But next time I think I write a book, I'm going to not be working full time, or it's going to be a part of my job.
Yeah.
One or the other, because it's really hard to give up all your weekends for so long, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited to have weekends back.
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep in.
There you go. Yeah. Sleeping in sounds amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's really important. Just the point you made. And I think setting boundaries, not just in writing a book, but it applies to everything in your life, and why that's so important to your career, to everything that you're doing. And book writing is no exception to that. Even though there are very specific challenges, like you mentioned, to just the book writing process and being an author. But congratulations, though. You're near the end here of now the second book. So that's really exciting. Really exciting.
Thank you. I also have a lot of support from my significant other. And I think that's important because that person can go make the snack or do the other thing so that you have that time. And so your family ends up accommodating. Do you know what I mean? Like I've definitely said to the kids a lot of times recently, like it's almost done. And then you will have so much more of my attention. And then I will go to the pool with you instead of staying home. Although quite frankly, I hate the public pool.
Right. I know.
It's so cold, but I love them. So why can't there just be like a public hot tub? where no one else is in it but us.
That's called buying your own hot tub and putting it in your backyard,
Yeah.
basically, like how I
I
do.
know I have one, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why can't we just go in
Yeah.
ours? Just stay in our little
Yes.
pool. They don't think it's
No?
exciting.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you have a family, you kind of have to get everyone on board with this goal,
Yeah.
or it's just not going to work.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point. So we are now at the end of 2024. Can you believe it? It's almost here, the end of the year. So I would love to get your thoughts on what about AppSec just in general for next year. Like, what are you thinking that we're going to be doing better maybe next year? Hopefully better. Do you see any positive things on the horizon?
Yes. So I just took this AI course with Jason Haddix.
Ooh,
And
that was probably
I
amazing.
made my own bot.
Yeah.
And by I made my own, I took a lot of what he gave us and then adjusted it a little bit so it's more Tanya-ish. And what I want to do is set up something called a reg server, feed all my books into it and all my research, and then be able to reference it via the AI.
Oh, nice.
And so then I can like fact check my own work, if that makes any sense, against myself and others. And so you can do this thing with a reg server where, so you set up an instance in the cloud, you put all the stuff in there that you want it to reference. And then you say, always reference this first, and then reference the stuff that you've learned and prioritize this stuff because the internet's not ready. When I was doing my research, holy smokes, like so many like top coding tips for React. I'm like, first of all, most things are agnostic. And second of all, this one's wrong.
Yeah.
Don't do this. This is bad. And so I have a very opinionated opinion of secure coding. And so, for instance, I think we should validate everything and then we sanitize or escape. You do not start with sanitizing. And also, like, I'd rather escape than sanitizing. And then I talk about why, right? And I'm like, here's how to do it safer. And it's funny, in Jason's class, he's like, oh, yeah, here's how you get around one of those block lists. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, yeah. And that's why we do an allow list.
Right.
That's the, right? Like, because then Jason would be having some tough luck, right? And that's what he wants too, just to be clear, right? That's why he teaches. And so I feel like AI being used for security, like helping it write a better report or better remediation advice, having like whatever it is that you do with it will help us, like threat modeling, etc. I also think that we're going to have some big AI boo-boos because I've seen some already.
Yes.
And I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more secure coding. So when SemGrep bought my little company, We Hack Purple, we basically took the We Hack Purple Academy, copied it all into another instance called SemGrep Academy, and then made it free. And so I've been adding courses there, and a bunch of other people from SemGrep have been helping. And so I'm hoping that by us doing that first of all, like a lot of people will go there and learn. But I'm also hoping that maybe like other marketing teams will be like, hey, that is going great. We should also educate and be helpful instead of doing retargeting ads and stalking people.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I talk about privacy a lot in the book. Privacy matters to me. And privacy, I have a lot of strong opinions.
Yes.
And I feel like developers can push for better security and better privacy, sometimes just by asking a question or saying, do we really want to do that to our users? How would you feel if we did that to you?
Yeah.
And suddenly the conversation's different, right? So I'm hoping to see better privacy practices, obviously way better secure coding, and better and inventive uses of AI.
That's really cool. I like that idea of more insightful questioning of the requirements to start with before you start coding at all.
Yes. Because that's just it, is like, so when we are silent, generally that is approval, right? And so I was on a podcast, and the host was saying a bunch of bad things about one of the OWASP projects. And so then I argued with him, and it ended up getting quite heated where he yelled at me. And after I was like,
wow,
if you release that, I'm going to be more angry at you than I already am. He did not release it.
Good.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I was like, you put me in a position where then I had to defend this project I'm not part of. I still think it's a great project, but like, I didn't know all the details. He's like, well, you could have just been quiet. I'm like, that's approval.
Right.
And I'm not going to be approval while you
point.
trash a bunch of people I like.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, well, I don't know. He was very angry and our friendship ended.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, someone putting you on the spot and then sandbagging you and then what, like, no, I don't have time for that. There's a lot of nice people on the internet and there's so many nice people in the world. We don't have to waste time with people that trick us.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
Yeah.
But if I was just silent, how would my friends on that project team feel?
Yeah.
Not good, probably. Why didn't you stand up for us, Tanya?
Yeah, really important.
So I tried, but then I don't have all the exact information about like how they gathered their data or whatever. So then I'm like in this weird conflict where I'm like, I don't like what you're saying, but I don't have good answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting about AI. I agree. I think, well, first and foremost, Jason Haddix is awesome. We've had him on the show before, a good friend of ours, and his courses are amazing. In fact, I need to just pay the money and take them because I've learned so much from Jason throughout my career, and it's a great plug for him. I think you're right. AI is going to change things. It already has. And I also think we're going to see some AI boo-boos, like you said. I think that is coming. Already has in some ways, but I think it's might get a little bit worse. I guess I'm a little scared to see with especially the way that developers are leveraging AI and some of the stuff that's coming out of AI. I mean, we've already seen the hallucinations and things like that, but we've seen it talk about insecure code that becomes code in production, right? And we have to be careful with that.
It currently gives some pretty bad advice.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to get it to give better advice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, just listen to me, Anthropic, OpenAI, just listen to me personally, which is like a bit unrealistic, probably.
Maybe they need a Tanya bot or something. Maybe that's what we call it.
I literally want to make one.
Yeah, I love that. Ask
Tanya bot.
Yep. Ask Tanya bot secure coding practices. And then literally it just references your book or something. Like it pulls.
Alice and Bob learned to use the Tanya bot. That's it.
There it is. There's the next book. Yes. Love it. So how can our listeners find out more about your book and everything you got going on?
If you go to shehackspurple.ca, because I'm Canadian, and also my friend bought the .com to surprise me.
Oh.
So then I couldn't buy it. So then I launched my whole website on the road.
Oh no.
Well, I don't. But if you go to .com, it'll just push you over to mine now.
Okay.
If you go to shehackspurple.ca, I have a link to my books and lots of information about all the different places you can get them. So various different links for every single country. I have praise for both books, so you can kind of like learn what other people think of them. And I have a link to all of the different streams for my first book. So you can, because people still go through and watch all of the streams as they're reading the book because they find it helpful. You can also just look up She Hacks Purple, all one word. And that's me on basically every platform. So on YouTube, on X or Twitter, on LinkedIn, Mastodon, Blue Sky, blah, blah,
I like
blah,
your
blah,
TikTok
blah.
AMAs.
All those. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel because I don't know how to make one on TikTok yet because I'm not an advanced user. So people, whenever I speak somewhere and they ask questions, if I don't have time to answer them, I just make TikTok videos.
Nice. Very cool. Well, it has been a pleasure once again having you on the show. You're always welcome back. And maybe we'll do it again exactly 1 year from now on this exact same day and get you on again. Maybe sooner next time. A year is just too long to not talk to Tanya.
I know.
So
I agree. And I usually have lots going on.
Yes.
So, I mean.
Yes.
Thank you both so much for having me.
Yes, good luck with the book. And check out the show notes. We'll have links to all of that for our listeners. And take care, Tanya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching or listening this episode. Be sure to subscribe wherever you like to get your podcasts. Visit sharedsecurity.net for merch, previous episodes, and more. If you'd like to help support the podcast, join our Patreon to get ad-free episodes and many more exclusive supporter-only benefits. Visit sharedsecurity.net/supporter for more details.